Growing up slowly, betraying, falling in love, passionate, take it seriously, if it doesn't look good, I'll live stream upside down and eat shit. A major global disaster caused the pyramid built by human civilization to collapse with a loud bang, and the world was divided into 3, 6, and 9 classes thereafter. The people inside the city are called nobles, while those outside are like dirty street mice. In this world, there are no human rights, people are ants, there is no law or order, only endless evil. His parents were killed, his younger brother betrayed him, his sister was held hostage by the nobility, and her life and death are unknown. At the age of 18, he awakened his superpowers. Dong, a bell rang the prelude to the whole world. Young man, do you want to have the ability of a demon? Lin Fan. All those who killed my family must die. I am Lin Fan, born extraordinary. I swear, I will reshape the order of the entire world. Chapter 1. Random Burial Hill. You are listening at novel-full.audio. On the blue star on the disorderly burial mound, there are countless crows on the ground, pecking at the rotten and smelly corpses. Many skinny wild dogs are digging through the soil. The black-brown soil is filled with the smell of physical decay. The remaining limbs and arms were torn into pieces by wild dogs and ground clean. Piles of white bones still contain carrion, covered in maggots and slowly wriggling on top. An 18-year-old boy collapsed on the rotten soil. There are still many corpses lying around him. The young man's eyelids twitched slightly. I heard a low roar that sounded like a wild beast. Open your bloodshot eyes and scan around. I saw more than 10 wild dogs gnawing on the corpses around him. His gaze did not feel any fear, but was filled with anger. Get lost. Get out of here. The boy instinctively picked up the bones around him and vigorously swung them towards the group of wild dogs. The wild dogs were frightened by the aura emanating from this young man. Wang Wang. The wild dogs were instantly startled by this thing and quickly moved away from this human. He stood up unsteadily, suddenly feeling dizzy in his eyes and uncomfortable. His face was very dejected, his body was weak, as if a gust of wind could knock him down. My entire eyes were covered in blood-red threads. He looked ahead. Looking at that place with endless anger hidden in his eyes. Ha ha ha. Suddenly, he burst out laughing heartily, and then gritted his teeth as he muttered to himself. I can't believe that Lin Fan is still alive. Wait. You killed my parents, even my sister was captured. You are really so ruthless. One day, Lin Fancher will surely defeat you and drive you to the brink of destruction. Leave no one behind. And you, Lin Yi. Lin Fan recalled his previous experiences. He felt that this was the most unforgettable and painful thing in his life. His childhood friend, who had grown up, actually sold Lin Fan for just 100 gold coins. The small town of Lizhu where Lin Fan used to live had no order at all. He would kill anyone he saw and rob anything he encountered. And he has a younger brother who grew up playing and also lives with Lin Fan, named Lin Yi. He had no parents, but was an abandoned baby. Lin Fan's parents looked at the child and adopted him, naming him Lin Yi. More than a decade has passed in the blink of an eye, and it was also 16 years ago that the fate of Lin Fan and Lin Yi changed. Some people with guns actually came to this chaotic small town. The leader is looking for something and needs a guide to guide the way into Wushan. And Lin Yi heard that as long as a guide leads them to the designated place, they will receive a reward of a whole 100 gold coins. For these poor people, they have never seen a single gold coin in their lifetime, let alone a whole 100. According to the Xia exchange rate, this gold coin is equivalent to 100,000 summer coins. These 100 coins are equivalent to 10 million Xia coins. They heard that they were about to enter the city of fog, but they didn't mention it. The reason is that Wushan appears in the mountains as fog all year round. It is easy to get lost without someone familiar with the mountain road leading the way. The biggest reason is that Wushan has creatures that people are unaware of. It is rumored that an expedition team of 20 people, fully armed, went to Wushan. But within a few days, they were completely wiped out, with only one person escaping. When he returned to the town, he was covered in blood and his eyes were dull, just like a madman. That person is completely insane, talking nonsense on the street. There's a dragon, there's actually a dragon. A giant dragon with huge wings. Wait. And there are monsters emitting red light. There are also creatures with fangs flipping outward, like wolves. They're all dead. No, 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 don't. Don't eat me. Don't. In the end, this person was taken away by several gunmen, and no one knew what they had encountered. And Lin introduced Lin Fan, the only one who had entered the depths of Wushan and was still alive, to them for 100 gold coins. Without any knowledge, Lin Fan was taken into Wushan. And Lin was also blinded by the money in front of him. 16 years of kindness and family ties were worthless in his eyes. With these 100 gold coins, he tasted the sweetness and even sold Lin Fan's sister Lin Shui to a big family. She is only 4 years older than Lin Fan, which is 20 years old. Lin Shui's parents are trying to prevent their daughter from being taken away. He vowed to resist to the death, but angered the members of the powerful family and was directly beaten to death. After more than half a month, the group of people who entered Wushan remained completely wiped out, with only Lin Fan returning alone. Upon hearing the news from my parents, I also heard that my sister was taken away by them. He is completely insane. He knelt weakly on the ground, but no one around him stepped forward to support him. Living together in the small town, the neighbors also felt heartbroken for Lin Fan, the child. But they seemed to be deliberately avoiding him. A group of fully armed individuals stood in front of him, their faces even obscured by masks. Are you Lin Fan? Did a group of people ask you to enter Wushan half a month ago? Lin Fan remained silent, still deeply saddened by the pain of losing his loved ones. Thinking of another sister in the hands of the big family and his younger brother missing, a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. If they are still alive, then there is still hope. Completely ignoring the issues they were discussing, he got up and ran forward. Suddenly, a butt of the gun hit Lin Fan hard on the back of his head. Lin Fan felt a wave of dizziness, and his eyes were instantly pitch black. When I open my eyes, I am taken to an unknown place. It was pitch black all around, and he couldn't see his fingers when he reached out. A black cloth was covering his eyes. A voice came. Without any emotions mixed in, he asked several questions in a row. What did you see in Wushan? Why didn't the exploration team come back? Why is it that only you can come out alive? Or have you already understood the changes in the world, or have you awakened your superpowers? For these series of questions, Lin Fan had no intention of answering him at all. And the last question, he himself didn't understand what he meant by these words. What he is most concerned about now is the safety of Lin Shui and Lin Yi's lives. The older sister was taken into another big family, while his younger brother disappeared without any news. The person saw him not speaking and used inhumane torture to torture him in an attempt to make him speak. No matter how they used torture. Lin Fan not only screamed loudly, but also did not send out any intelligence worth collecting. A cold and indifferent voice sounded not far from him. All right, I think this child should also be scared and mentally unstable. It's useless, let's throw it away. Lin Fan was thrown onto the street. In the cold winter of the 12th lunar month. He only had a single garment on his body, and the cold wind and snow blew on his skin, causing a sharp pain. But he couldn't change his final decision. He still has his sister and his beloved younger brother in his heart. In no time, he was cold and hungry. As he was about to faint, he saw a pair of shiny black shoes. Looking up, a familiar face came into view. He squatted down and supported Lin Fan, who was lying on the ground with his hands. Joking, Lin Fan said. Hee, brother, why are you looking so miserable? Chapter 2. Going Home. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lin Fan learned the reason behind the matter from his dear brother. All causality is caused by Lin Yi. Also tell Lin Fan everything he knew about the journey to Wushan, the death of his parents, and the fact that his sister was taken away by the nobility. At this moment, he was extremely angry and wanted to kill the white-eyed wolf in front of him. In the pitch-black place, Lin Fan suffered from inhumane torture. Now, he has no strength and cannot even stand up. Lin Yi expressed gratitude to their family. I took care of him for 16 years. In order to repay their kindness, Lin Fan was sent to the black kiln to dig coal. This excavation lasted for 2 whole years. In the past 2 years, Lin Fan always wants to blade that white-eyed wolf with his hand. He is most worried about his sister Lin Shui. I heard what those colleagues said. These powerful families have extremely cruel means towards people. Often, after getting tired of playing, they casually throw it on the street and let it survive on its own. His sister is also his expectation for survival. Due to long-term malnutrition, his body was exceptionally weak, lacking even the strength to wield a pickaxe. The supervisor saw Lin Fan's phenomenon and directly issued a life and death order. Throw Lin Fan and those dead bodies together to the mass grave. People like Lin Fan, who have a weak physique, will be directly sent to the mass grave for self-destruction. If it weren't for Lin Fan's last bit of obsession, he would have died long ago. Lin Fan fell into a coma for many days and only woke up today. Why Lin Yi? Your heart is so cruel. Lin Fan stumbled and fell, hitting the land with both hands. Roaring towards the sky, venting the injustice of the fate of this world. I can't believe a brother who has been together for 16 years has been betrayed. Lin Fan closed his eyes in despair. His tears mixed with blood flowed on the ground. He felt his heart twisted like a knife. His brother, who used to be his most trusted person, has now become his enemy. My heart is filled with anger and sadness, unable to understand why my brothers would do this. Lin Fan wiped away the tears from the corners of his eyes, and his gaze instantly became incredibly firm. His face suddenly turned cold. Eyes and eyebrows are gloomy, and the aura around me is cold and raging, like a god of death from hell. Gritting his teeth tightly, his face was grim. As long as I'm still alive, there's still a chance. Sister, no matter where you are, I will definitely save you. And Lin Yi. I won't spare any of the people who killed my parents. No one knows. On the road these days, Lin Fan drank dew and ate wild fruits, finally arriving at the small town where he used to live. Still the same as before. Dirty and rotten, the town is very chaotic, filled with the smell of smoke and alcohol. There are also many invisible physical transactions. The streets are overgrown with weeds and garbage can be seen everywhere. The air was filled with a smell of decay and foul odor. Lin Fan dragged his tired body towards his home where he had lived for 16 years. Everyone on the street stared at him with strange eyes. There are also ferocious and malevolent villains who are observing Lin Fan. There is no order here, only strength can walk horizontally. At this moment, Lin Fan had long hair draped over his shoulders, and countless strands of hair covered his face. Wearing a tattered short-sleeved shirt covered in blood, and pants already covered in a lot of dirt. Barefoot, with a stunned expression, walking forward with a bewildered gaze. Home, my home is right ahead. 2 years of mining coal in the black mine. He always wants to go back to the house where he lives. Although it is only a small 30 square meters, this is their home that they have lived together for 16 years. Everyone witnessed the young man with disheveled hair. Lin Fan came to his own house and looked at the door in front of him, which was completely devoid of dust. He was surprised in his eyes, but it was only a moment. His hands trembled as he opened the door. The group saw that Lin Tianqi and his wife's room had been opened by a stranger, and they all began to discuss. Who is this person? How could they have come to our small town? It doesn't seem like they're from our small town. No, I smell the breath of death from him. A middle-aged man, carrying some compasses and Luoyang shovels on his back, sniffed in the air. One of them spoke up. How did you know? Hee, people like us usually only need to smell it to know. And this smell is incredibly strong, like the smell of corpses just emerging from the grave, mixed with a hint of blood. The person's gaze was slightly surprised as he looked at the middle-aged man and said, I didn't expect you to be a tomb thief. The middle-aged man sneered and was not angry with the title of tomb robber. As refugees like us, we can only live in the outer city. If we don't starve to death, we can only do business for the dead. The person heard what the middle-aged man said and remained silent, as if he agreed with what he said. In the inner city, there are usually people with status, eating delicious food, drinking nectar and jade dew, and living in high-rise buildings. Outside the city, there are two worlds, and people often struggle with food and clothing. We still have to constantly guard the people around us, as they don't even have the most basic living security. You can only eat based on your own abilities. Hunting, tomb raiding, robbery, and murder are all commonplace outside. Lin Fan ignored their rumors, he only knew that he had gone home. Crunching the wooden door was slowly opened by him. Lin Fan walked into the living room and looked around, a familiar scene suddenly flooding into his mind. He saw his mother cooking in the kitchen. Father, on the other hand, had just entered the house and dragged a wild boar into it. And my sister was looking at me with a smile on her face. Hee Lin Fan, why are you crying? Did Lin Yi's younger brother hide your toys again? Hey! A child's voice rang out. Lin Yi was playing with a toy made of small wood, staring at Lin Fan with a mischievous smile on his face. Lin Yi, be good, come here and take your brother to play together. The older sister touched their little brains. Lin Yi, be good. You can't snatch your brother's toy. Also, Lin Fan, don't keep crying. You're an older brother, be more humble with your younger brother. Okay sister, I won't snatch my brother's toy anymore. Lin Yi lowered his head and blushed as he said. Looking back, Lin Fan's tears involuntarily flowed down, and he quickly wiped them away with his hands. Lin Fan walked all over this 30-square-meter small house. Painful memories also wandered in his mind, and now he was the only one left. He sat on the wooden stool, looking around the house, and was taken aback. Strange, I haven't been home for 2 years. Why hasn't there been any spider webs on the walls, and the furniture hasn't been dusty, like someone cleaning it regularly? Just as Lin Fan was thinking about what was going on, the sound of a wooden stick hitting the floor echoed from far to near. Dong 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 dong, a woman's voice shouted out to the people inside. You. Who are you? Her voice was somewhat uncertain, and her voice was trembling. She heard that someone had broken into Lin Fan's house, so she came to investigate. Lin Fanti heard a familiar voice and got up and walked towards the door. I saw a girl holding a wooden stick with one hand and holding the door frame with the other. Looking inside, he looks about 16 years old. Her hair was tied to her waist, and her eyes were wrapped in a circle of black satin, clearly indicating that she was blind. But that circle of black satin couldn't conceal her beauty at all, her small melon seed face, and her snow-white and tender skin. The small face is like a porcelain doll, with black satin wrapped around the eyes, giving people an indescribable sense of mystery. Having a slender figure, petite and not tall, it appears somewhat fragile and gives people a desire to protect themselves. Because I couldn't see the other person's face and smelled a foul smell of blood. Her voice began to tremble, her heart was very scared, and her body trembled like a dustpan. But she needs to guard this house because it's his home. Excuse me, who are you? This is Brother Lin Fan's home, please. Please go out. I felt a wave of fear in my heart. The bloody smell, combined with the disorderly small town, makes it difficult to imagine if it was those people who came to cause trouble again. Please leave, otherwise my dad won't let you go. Step by step, the woman's expression immediately became nervous when she heard footsteps approaching her. Holding the wooden stick in both hands, he hit wildly in the front direction. Lin Fan slightly avoided the wooden stick and tightly embraced her petite body with one big hand. The woman was instantly panicked, shouting loudly there. What are you doing? Let go. The frightened woman's face and ears turned red in an instant. Seeing him not letting go, he pounced directly on him and bit Lin Fan's shoulder tightly. Lin Fanfei did not shout pain, but gently touched her head. Girl, I'm back. Chapter 3. Uninvited Guests. You are listening at novelfull.audio. My body trembled. My head buzzed. The woman instantly regained consciousness. She didn't let go of her mouth, and her body didn't continue to move around. She kept biting on Lin Fan's shoulder, unable to believe what she heard. What's going on? You can't even hear my voice. Silly girl. Upon hearing this, the woman suddenly wailed and burst into tears, suppressing her emotions for a long time before finally venting at this moment. Woo-woo. Brother Lin Fan. Woo-woo. How did you come back, Brother Lin Fan? Woo-woo-woo-woo. After a long time, Lin Fan finally calmed the girl's emotions. The girl's name is Song Qinger, and she is only 2 years younger than Lin Fan. Living in the same small town, I was also a childhood playmate and often played with Lin Fan and Lin Yi. It took a few more hours to tell Song Qinger what had happened to him in the past 2 years. Upon hearing this, her eyes were filled with shock. Brother Lin Fan, I didn't expect you to have gone through so many things in the past 2 years. At that time, I was not in the small town and followed my father to another small town to do business. But when I returned here, I heard that my uncle and aunt were already. Lin Shui's sister was taken away by those members of the big family, and Lin Yi's brother is also missing. Lin Fan did not tell Lin Yi about anything. But it's about modifying the process, not wanting Song Qinger to know. All of this was caused by taking care of Brother Lin Yi from childhood to adulthood. I clean the house once a week just to wait for you to come back. They all say you're dead, but I don't believe it. Brother Lin Fan is really amazing. He raised his pink little hand and shook it in front of him. Thank you, Qinger, Lin Fan said to Song Qinger with a slightly sour nose. In the past 2 years, Song Qinger has helped too much. If it weren't for her, this house would have been occupied by those people long ago. She can't see, and these 2 years have been too difficult for her. Strangely, Song Qinger's eyes were invisible from birth, as if she had contracted some illness. As long as you slightly open a slit and encounter light, the pain in your eyes is unbearable. So I can only wear black bandages every day. She has an adoptive father named Wang. Song Qinger is an orphan, and her parents starved to death at a very young age. Song Qinger came all the way to this small town and met Wang, who was doing business. Seeing her wandering alone. She was still born blind, and seeing her pitiful, she adopted Song Qinger. Her adoptive father's background is also somewhat strong. Regular communication channels with people in the city. Talking about some business outside the city, life can also be considered decent. Naturally receiving some protection within the city. So those people don't dare to act recklessly under Wang Ji's nose. Brother Lin Fan, why don't you go wash yourself? It smells so bad. Song Qinger pinched her nose and made a very smelly appearance, saying to him mischievously, joking, said. Qinger, you still despise your brother Lin Fan. Lin Fan got up and went to the restroom to clean up. After all, I haven't had a good shower in the past 2 years. If it weren't for Chinger's inability to see Lin Fan's current state, she probably wouldn't have recognized this wild man. He is now covered in dirt and disorder. His face was covered in black and dirty dirt, and he couldn't see his original appearance anymore. His clothes have been stained with blood and dirt. It can be said that he completely crawled out of the pile of dead people. Otherwise, how could anyone not recognize him when he entered the small town? The restroom is very small, but it has all the necessary organs. Throw away all these dirty clothes. After taking a hot shower and tidying up briefly, he saw himself in the mirror. His whole body was covered in shocking whip marks. There are more than 10 large whip marks on the back. Due to the large wound, it has not completely disappeared so far. A white whip mark was formed, imprinted on his back, and there were several shallow marks on his chest. During his 2 years in the coal mine, Lin Fan was often beaten by the supervisor, and several times he was beaten to the brink of death. Outside the wooden house, Song Chinger was looking in the direction of the restroom and lying on the table, giggling foolishly. Song Ching is very happy that Lin Fan can come back. Her 2 little feet were happily swaying under the table, indicating that she was feeling happy in her heart. When she was a child, her favorite person to play with was Lin Fan. When they first arrived at this small town, everyone looked at Song Chinger with strange eyes. The reason is that her eyes are completely invisible, causing the children on the street to gather around her and mock her together. A few mischievous children even removed her black satin. Song Chinger felt aggrieved and helpless, and immediately burst into tears. And the child on the side was still shouting something. Blind, blind, the dirty child that no father or mother wants. Still throwing stones on the side, hitting Song Chinger. No, woo woo woo. I'm not blind, I just can't open my eyes, my parents, woo woo. The weak Song Chinger felt ashamed and angry, unable to say anything to these people. I can only shed helpless tears and let them mock me there. Suddenly, a thin and weak boy stood in front of her, protecting Song Chinger with both hands, blocking countless stones from hitting him. Hurry up and leave, otherwise I won't be polite to you. Lin Fan pointed at them and said. He shouted to Lin Yi, who had been ambushed on one side. The 2 of them fought off the bad kid who was bullying Song Chinger together. Song Chinger was deeply moved, especially the person who was protecting her. It wasn't until she learned the name that she realized it was Lin Fan. Just as Song Chinger was still reminiscing about her childhood. But she didn't know that the distance outside was more than 10 meters, and there were more than 10 people staring fiercely at this place. The boss seems to be here, I think I saw Song Chinger running into this room. This little beautiful girl's embryo is really watery. My son goes to Wang Ji's place every day to propose, but this old guy doesn't show his face. Surprisingly, Song Chinger is too young to fit. Grass. A 20-year-old man spat disdainfully at the ground. Continue speaking. If it weren't for him selling game with the people in the city and receiving their protection, I wouldn't be used to that old guy with my temper. Otherwise, I would have cooked and cooked raw rice long ago. This is my 999th proposal, and I will definitely make Song Linger moved by my sincerity. One of them smiled and said flattery beside him. It's the boss, obviously the old man has no taste. Boss, you have a dignified appearance, a jade tree facing the wind, a dignified demeanor, handsome and resolute, charming and charming. You are a good man loved by everyone. Ha ha ha, the man rubbed his head and was being laughed out loud by his subordinates' hands. This is clearly flattering. Some people, upon seeing this group of people, avoided them and fled far away. Don't escape. They are notorious thugs in this small town. They grab whatever they encounter, and they even boast about killing people. Everyone doesn't know if they have ever killed anyone. But I only know that their appearance is like that of a bandit like Coma. This group of people, smoking a cigarette in their mouths, walk aimlessly on the street all day. Still on the road of the past, even casually smearing oil on the buttocks of young women. So when people see them, they immediately associate them with bandits and avoid them, reducing unnecessary trouble. They also gave themselves a resounding group nickname. 13 Tai Bao, and the 20-year-old man is the eldest, named Lei Batian. By the way, boss, I heard a wild man has arrived in the village, and it seems like he has entered this house. Haha. The man widened his eyes and looked at him like a copper bell. You're saying a wild man broke into this wooden house? The person nodded. For some unknown reason, the man produced a few drops of sweat on his forehead. I'll go, this Nima Song Chinger has such a strong taste, find a wild man. Where am I inferior to a wild man? He touched the sweat on his head, and his heart suddenly became mixed. Let's go take a look. I want to see, I'm not as good as a wild man. Chapter 4. Coma Death. You are listening at novelfull.audio. They arrived outside the wooden house, separated by a door. Song Chinger was still reminiscing about her childhood memories and didn't pay attention to the people outside the door. A rough and wild big hand tightly hugged her. At this moment, Song Chinger's mind went blank and she was flustered. But then she thought to herself. Could it be that brother Lin Fan suddenly played a prank again? But then a dozen or so lewd voices burst out laughing. Song Chinger heard not Lin Fan's voice, but also many people she didn't know laughing. She immediately became panicked and struggled to break free from the person's hand. Kicking onto the stool, the huge impact caused the stool to lift up. Bang dang. A loud sound sounded. Lin Fan, who was taking a shower in the laundry room, also noticed a slight abnormality. The more it is like this, the more excited the man becomes. Song Chinger, this is my 999th proposal to you, but whether you agree or not this time, I will have to cook raw rice and mature rice today, and that old guy won't be able to say anything after that. Hee hee. I immediately guessed who this person was when I heard their voice. Lei Batian. Ha ha ha, it's me. Song Chinger is really too familiar with this person. 2 years ago, Song Chinger was only 14 years old, and Lei Batian was so straightforward that he recognized Wang Ji as his father on the spot. Attempting to marry his daughter to him. It can be said that there is a difference of 4 years in age, and we cannot be together. That is to say, Lei Batian was 18 years old at that time and married a 14-year-old little girl. But doing so every day made Wang Ji feel very headache. Lei Batian never gave up. In order to make Song Chinger fall in love with him, he even proposed to her every day for 2 years in July. But these past 2 years have undoubtedly been failures. The repeated setbacks left him with no self-esteem at all. Liking lowly is not a sin. This is his last time, and also his last time. He swore to simply push down Song Chinger. You let go of Lei Batian, if my dad comes. Ha ha ha, your dad. Lei Batian held onto her waving little hand and whispered in his ear. In this wooden house, we are together, and your father won't say anything more than, ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Everyone burst into laughter. You. Song Chinger's strength was very weak, and it was impossible for her to break free. She opened her mouth slightly and wanted to shout. Just as I was about to open it, something came to my mind. You can't ask brother Lin Fan to come out, otherwise brother Lin Fan will be in danger. Just as Lei Batian pushed Song Chinger down on the table, he was ready to lift his pants and take advantage of the situation. Suddenly, Lin Fan came out of the bathroom. At the beginning, Lin Fan had already heard Song Chinger shouting. Immediately put on the prepared clothes, tie a rubber band around the back of your hair. Lin Fan looked at the unfamiliar people in front of him, as well as the man who had already crushed Song Chinger on the table. Who are you? The anger in my heart immediately ignited, as if my eyes were about to devour them. Brother Lin Fan. Although Song Qing'er couldn't see it, she could hear Lin Fan's voice and immediately called out to him. Let go of her. Looking at Song Qing'er like this, Lin Fan did not hesitate and rushed towards Lei Batian quickly. Lei Batian looked up to signal, his eyes filled with anger. The little brother around immediately understood. Roll up your sleeves and swing your arms to rush towards Lin Fan. Lin Fan has no choice but to face these people. Lin Fan is a little thin. In recent years, he has eaten millet porridge, and all of it is water. In addition, he has been exhausted both physically and mentally since coming to Lizhu town from the chaotic burial mound these past few days, which is beyond his ability to deal with. These people in front of him are all tall and powerful. In less than a while, Lin Fan couldn't resist. The saying goes that 2 fists are difficult to match 4 hands, let alone a dozen or so people. Bang bang. Lin Fan was beaten outside by these people. Lei Batian released Song Qing'er and walked straight towards Lin Fan, who had been beaten outside. Without the constraints of Lei Batian, Song Qing'er stood up and ran towards the outside. One big hand can hold Song Qing'er down. Although Song Qing'er's eyes are blind and unable to see anything, her ears are more sensitive than ordinary people. Upon hearing Lin Fan's painful and muffled voice, she knew that he must have been seriously injured. And I also heard the footsteps and voices around here, guessing there must be more than 10 people. Lin Fan fell to the ground, convulsing his body. The few moments just now almost killed him. Lei Batian looked at Lin Fan and cursed profusely. Turning to look at Song Qing'er again. I proposed to you for nearly 2 years, but you didn't agree. It turned out you had hidden a little white face inside the house. I mean, why do you always run this way? Let go of Song Qing'er. Lin Fan struggled on the ground, trembling with pain all over his body. Oh, you're still a lover. Still stepping on my mother's golden house to hide her beauty. Lei Batian looked at this kid and at Song Qing'er's anxious expression, which made him instantly angry. Dismiss him for me. Ah. Upon hearing this, the younger brothers were all taken aback. They have never killed anyone at all, they are just bragging. They thought this sentence was murder. Boss. Killing people. We. Lei Batian slapped and shouted on his face. Is that what I mean? Let him spend his entire life lying in bed. Upon hearing this, the crowd immediately rushed forward and prepared to depose Lin Fan. Upon hearing what they said, Song Qing'er couldn't help but shed tears. She shouted in a hurry. Brother Lin Fan, Brother Lin Fan. Lin Fan's mind is somewhat blurred. His head was hit hard, and he stood up with a heavy body swaying. Hearing Song Qing'er's shouts, he walked towards them. Let go, let go. Let go of Song Qing'er. His current body is very weak, relying solely on his strong willpower to stand up. Little brother, a few people exchanged a few glances. I want to deal with Lin Fan here and completely depose him. A few people walked forward. Pushi punched a few times. Lin Fan has been punching with all 4 feet facing upwards. Her hair was scattered and she fell heavily to the ground, completely unconscious. How are you, Brother Lin Fan? Song Qing'er was very scared in her heart, but she called out many times without any response. Brother Lin Fan, Brother Lin Fan. Brother Lin Fan. A man with a tiger tattoo walked towards him, ready to depose Lin Fan. In a coma, in the mind. Lin Fan saw his parents, sister, and Lin Yi. They are chatting and laughing inside the room. Lin Fan looked at this place. Seeing his long-lost loved ones, tears appeared at the corners of his eyes, and only he himself could know the hardships of these years. Later, seeing Lin Yi again, anger rose in his heart. Lin Fan rushed over, constantly wanting to take advantage of Lin Yi. But in an instant, all the scenes were fragmented, forming a series of images that appeared in his eyes. He saw his parents being beaten to death by them, no matter how much he begged for mercy. Seeing her sister Lin Shui being reduced to a plaything by the nobility. Suffering from inhumane torment day and night. In the end, he could only die of melancholy in the dungeon. And in the end, Lin Yi stood on the magnificent hall, overlooking Lin Fan. His smile was eerie and terrifying, with a pitiful expression as he gazed at Lin Fan. Lei Batian looked at Lin Fan lying on the ground and said, "Don't blame us, kid. If you want to blame us, blame your bad luck." Lin Fan in his mind heard the voices outside. In the dark space, he curled up into a ball. "Fate is not good, fate is not good, fate is not good," Fate murmured to himself, his eyes empty and unpredictable, and he repeated those few words. "My fate is indeed not good. My younger brother Lin Yi, who caused harm to my whole family, deserves to die 1,000 times. I don't believe in this fate, I can't die yet." Chapter 5. Counterattack. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In his mind, an inexplicable voice came out. "That's right, you're him. Young man, do you want to possess the power of demons?" "Who?" Lin Fan stood up straight and looked around in panic. No one else was found. The hoarse voice did not answer Lin Fan's question. "As long as you say you want to have the power of a demon, I will give it to you." "Who are you?" Lin Fan immediately became nervous. "Don't be afraid, speak quickly, I want to have the power of demons." "As long as you have power, there's nothing you can't get, speak up." "I want to have the power of demons." Seeing that Lin Fan had not spoken for a long time, the voice also began to become manic. Lin Fan felt surprised. He had no idea that a voice would appear out of thin air in his mind. "What devil's power? Who the hell are you?" Lin Fan shouted around. "Have you ever heard of demons, kid?" "Devil." Lin Fan's lips curved as he read, feeling puzzled. He didn't know what that meant. What is a demon? Having unparalleled power to destroy everything, it is also the root of evil. It is also the source of darkness. When he said this sentence, the voice appeared incredibly excited. After hearing that voice, Lin Fan was momentarily stunned. "Well, let me show you the demon's ability. I believe you will definitely want to have this ability next." Lin Fan has not yet understood the meaning of this sentence. In the corner of his eye, he suddenly saw a black hole inexplicably appearing under his feet. Scared, he let out a loud scream. "Ah!" Lin Fan fell directly into the black hole. As he left here, that voice rang out again. "This is your own ability." The man who smelled the tiger tattoo picked up the steel stick and raised his hand, intending to depose Lin Fan. At this critical moment, Lin Fan woke up. Everyone saw that Lin Fan stood up as if nothing had happened. His eyes were wide open. What kind of situation is this? This kid was beaten up and couldn't get up, what's going on? Lin Fan looked at everyone with an incredible look in his eyes, even he couldn't believe such a thing. "I am most aware of the injury I have suffered, but surprisingly, I recovered in this moment." He was a bit puzzled and didn't know what was causing it. "Brother Lin Fan, are you okay?" Upon hearing what they said, Song Qinger also guessed that Lin Fan was fine. Lin Fan watched as Song Qinger was held down by several people on his shoulder, and his eyebrows furrowed together. He stared fixedly at Lei Batian. "I don't know if I can fight or not, save Song Qinger first." "You let go of Song Qinger." Lin Fan swung his fist over. Without any deviation, it struck heavily at those who were trying to depose Lin Fan. A gust of fist wind roared past, sending the person flying more than 10 meters and unconscious. At first, Lei Batian just thought, "This is just an ordinary punch, it doesn't cause much damage." Besides, with Lin Fan's thin and weak physique, how could he possibly hit that person? Seeing that person being knocked out by Lin Fan, Lei Batian felt a bit surprised at the first moment, his eyebrows furrowed together, and his face was full of doubt. Lei Batian couldn't imagine how Lin Fan's thin and windy body could fly a person several times stronger than him. Even Lin Fan was surprised. Lin Fan can't handle so much now, he just shouted at them. Pointing at them and shouting. Let go of Song Qing'er. Everyone was startled by this momentum. Combined with that disheveled appearance, it made people feel a shock in their bodies. Looking at the person lying on the ground in the distance, the two people who held Song Qing'er down instinctively let go of their hands. Seeing this opportunity, Song Qing'er heard the sound and ran all the way. Come to Lin Fan's side and hide behind him. Lei Batian was about to stop Song Qing'er, but he didn't expect this little girl to be too agile. The swan in hand flew away, which made Lei Batian very angry. Immediately dancing his fists, he rushed towards Lin Fan. Lin Fan faced Lei Batian squarely. Watching him run over, his speed was also very fast, but in Lin Fan's eyes, it slowed down countless times. Strange, why do you feel like his movements are very slow? Lin Fan looked at him with a hint of doubt in his tone. Lei Batian rushed to Lin Fan, less than a foot away. Lin Fan saw this and punched him in the chest. Lei Batian flew out like a kite with a broken string. Compared to the previous person, Lei Batian did not faint directly. But instead, he lay on the ground, coughing violently, and this blow hurt him quite badly. Brother Lin Fan, are you? Song Qing'er felt an indescribable aura in Lin Fan, so she curiously asked him. Lin Fan also looked up and down at his body at this moment. Strange, what's going on? The injuries on my body surprisingly healed all at once. My strength has also increased significantly, and my senses have become much more sensitive. Seeing that Lin Fan's expression was somewhat off, Song Qing'er began to feel a little scared. Pulling Lin Fan by the hem of his clothes, he asked. Brother Lin Fan, are you? Lin Fan just regained his senses. I don't know what's going on, it feels like after sleeping, I wake up and the injuries are all healed. Hearing what Lin Fan said, Song Qing'er didn't believe it at all. She doesn't care about these either, as long as Lin Fan is okay. Boss. The boys around saw Lei Batian being hit on the ground and all ran over to help him up. Get lost. Lei Batian pushed them away and stumbled towards Lin Fan. Eyes angrily open, teeth tightly clenched. His fists clattered and he spoke fiercely towards him. Since I entered this small town 2 years ago, I have always had a crush on Song Qing'er at first glance. I like her, and for her sake, I have been chasing her for a whole 2 years. Do you know how I came here in the past 2 years? Now you're lucky, just grab my woman. I won't agree. Ah. Lei Batian roared angrily, suppressing the pain and charging towards Lin Fan again. Song Qing'er heard that she was Lei Batian's woman. Buckling his cheeks and muttering, he said to him. I'm not your woman. Thinking of something else, he blushed and glanced up at Lin Fan. Lei Batian murmured in his heart. I'm not good at that, but I can't compare to that kid. He's so thin and weak. What exactly does Song Qing'er like about him? Upon hearing Song Qing'er's words, Lei Batian's anger became even more intense. Facing Lin Fan, his eyes turned red and he roared angrily. In this chaotic world, can your small body protect Song Qing'er? Suddenly, Lei Batian's legs suddenly gathered strength and accelerated forward. Lin Fan showed an unexpected expression, but in his eyes, the speed was still a bit slow. Seeing Lei Batian's fist about to hit Lin Fan, Lin Fan blocked his fist with both hands and was instantly shaken open a few steps. But at the moment of touching Lin Fan's arm, Lin Fan felt a numbness in his arms. Lei Batian and Lin Fan were about to continue their fight when the voice of a middle-aged man rang out in the surrounding crowd. Stop it. Chapter 6. Wang Ji's Rescue of the Field. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. During this riot, many onlookers were quietly hiding behind the goods, watching the scene. Everyone turn around and take a look. A middle-aged man dressed very plainly was walking out. His attire is much better than these people, giving off a landlord-like appearance. Boss Wang. Boss Wang. Boss Wang. Everyone gave way to Mr. Wang, as if everyone respected him. Dad. Song Qing'er looked at her father coming over and excitedly shouted at him. This person is Wang Ji, also the adoptive father of Song Qing'er. Wang Ji approached Lin Fan and looked at Song Qing'er hiding behind him. The old man took a deep breath and let out a sigh. You child, running here in such a hurry is really outrageous. I was wrong, Dad. Song Qing'er lowered her head in injustice, like a child who had done something wrong. Uncle Wang, long time no see. Lin Fan greeted Wang Ji as well. When Lin Fan was knocked out of the wooden house before, his neighbors were startled by this commotion. I also saw that Song Qing'er was being held hostage by Lei Batian and his group. Some people quickly went to Wang Jijia to explain the situation. As soon as she heard it, her precious daughter was caught by the boy again, and she rushed out of the room in a hurry. Later on, when I arrived here, I saw Song Qing'er being guarded by someone and coincidentally caught them fighting together. In order to prevent the situation from escalating further, we need to come out quickly and resolve the matter. Are you? The person in front of Song Qing'er called him Uncle Wang. Wang Ji frowned and looked at him with confusion. Uncle Wang, don't you remember me? It's me, Lin Fan. Lin Fan. Wang Ji still recalled this name. Lin Fan saw that he was still thinking. You forgot, once I went to your house to steal eggs, but you caught me and almost missed me. Oh. So it's you kid. Wang Ji suddenly remembered. It's really Lin Fan. You haven't seen me in the past 2 years, and I thought you died outside. Dad. What are you talking nonsense about? Song Qing'er glared at Wang Ji in anger. Cough. Upon realizing that he had said the wrong thing, he immediately coughed up to ease the embarrassment on the scene. Looking up and down at him again. Tisk, I've lost a lot of weight in 2 years. If you don't say your name is Lin Fan, I really don't know who you are for a while. Dad, you're really easy to forget about this, he said to Wang Jijiao with his cheeks bulging and a sullen expression. I've been busy with business in recent years, so I tend to forget. Hey. I'm talking about the old man. Lei Batian looked a bit angry as they chatted. Wang Ji turned his head to look. Immediately becoming solemn, he pointed at Lei Batian and said. It's you Lei Batian again, young and inexperienced, always doing these crooked things. If it weren't for 2 years ago when you entered the small town and were homeless and pitiful to you, or for the shelter I found for you, what would it be? Do you still learn how to grab it now? I tell you guys, in my territory, you all have to be honest with me. Otherwise, get out of Lizhu town. You. Lei Ba gasped heavily in the weather, not knowing what to say for a moment. After all, they are 13 people who moved into Lizhu town 2 years ago. If it weren't for Wang Ji, perhaps they would still be wandering. Let's go. Lei Batian swallowed this breath and walked back, looking back at Lin Fan halfway. Let's wait and see. Humph. Seeing Lei Batian and the others walking, Lin Fan quickly thanked Wang Ji. Thank you very much, Uncle Wang. It's okay, I'm also here for my daughter. Lin Fan immediately invited Wang Ji to his own home, and Wang Ji did not refuse either. He also really wants to know what happened to Lin Fan in the past 2 years. In this 30-square-meter wooden house, Lin Fan described his experiences over the past 2 years. As Song Qing'er was also present, he also covered up Lin Yi's situation as before. It turns out like this, but it's hard for you, child. Unexpectedly, Lin Tianqi and his wife were killed by the nobility, and you were arrested yourself and dug coal in the mine for 2 years. Harmful. If I hadn't gone out to do business at that time and wasn't in the town, maybe I could have stopped them. Wang Ji was very frustrated. 2 years ago, when Wang Jigang returned, he heard that Lin Tianqi and his wife had been beaten to death by nobles, which also made him feel a sense of regret. Although they may not have much friendship, they are all very simple and honest people. Being brutally killed like this also makes people feel sad. What a great person. Harmful. Wang Ji sighed heavily. Lin Fan also felt a pang of sadness in his heart. After a moment of lamentation, Wang Ji said to Song Qing'er beside him. Qing'er, go and bring me the aged wine that I have hidden under the bed. I want to have a good drink with Lin Fan. Okay Dad. Song Qing'er also left the wooden house and went to her own house to get some wine. Watching Song Qing'er leave, Wang Ji said to Lin Fan. What are your plans next? I want to find my sister first, and then find them to avenge my family. Upon hearing this, Lin Fan couldn't help but say it directly. Upon hearing the news of revenge, Wang Ji's face looked a bit unpleasant. Do you know that those nobles kill without blinking an eye? I know, but I know one thing, to kill my family, I must make them pay for it. Like you, it's like an egg hitting a stone. I'll just listen to Uncle. Let's go over this matter. You Lin family, you are the only child. Wang Ji knocked on the table and said. Even if an egg touches a stone, I'll give it a try. My sister was also taken away by them, and the top priority is to find her and save her. Wang Ji let out a deep sigh and said. Usually, if a nobleman captures a woman into the city, she will be killed in less than 3 days. After 2 years, there is no guarantee. Speaking of which, Wang Ji paused for a moment, but when he thought of Lin Fan's unrealistic ideas, he spoke harshly. I'm already dead. Upon hearing this, Lin Fan lowered his head. He had long known that the big families in the city were all monsters who killed without blinking an eye. Lin Fan always believed that his sister was still alive. Wang Ji felt that his words touched Lin Fan's heart, so he quickly said a few words to smooth things out. I advise you to stay in this place honestly. I think that girl really likes you. I've seen it for a while, and I've picked an auspicious day to get married and give birth to a few chubby white kids, right? Ha ha ha. Thank you, Uncle Wang, but I still want to seek revenge on my sister and those nobles who killed my parents. Wang Ji. Is this kid brainless? Being alive is definitely the most important thing right now. Even if his sister didn't die, it wouldn't be much better. Thinking about revenge, I'm afraid I might get shot and killed without even touching the door. What's the difference between living alone in this world without the company of family and dying? Lin Fan looked up at Wang Ji. When Lin Fan said this sentence, his tone was very plain and very cold. Wang Ji looked at Lin Fan, his tone revealing the vicissitudes, sadness, and endless desolation, but he also saw perseverance in his eyes. Wang Ji also understood that no matter what he said, he could no longer be saved. To know the answer, Wang Ji patted his thighs with both hands and slowly stood up. Alright, it's not early either. I have to go back. If Lin Fan is free tomorrow, come to my place. After saying it, he walked out of the room. Chapter 7. The Guide to Mysterious Voices. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Song Qing'er was carrying a glass bottle of wine and walking towards here with a wooden stick. Wang Ji grabbed Song Qing'er's collar and pulled back. Hey! Song Qing'er still doesn't know who grabbed her back collar. Walk home, Wang Ji said. Isn't Dad going to drink? Song Qing'er was a bit puzzled. Let's talk about it tomorrow. Let's go home. Song Qing'er could only let her father drag her home and didn't forget to greet Lin Fan. Lin Fan, see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. In the evening. Lin Fan lay in bed, his eyes fixed on the ceiling, unsure of what he was thinking. Reached out his hand and looked in front of him. My injury has healed. The voice said, the power of demons. Did my injuries and strength today come from that demon? Who exactly is it? In the deep night, Lin Fan also felt drowsy and drowsy. He arrived at this place again, and the surroundings were still pitch black. Sure enough, that voice came again. How about the power of demons? Faced with this voice, Lin Fan did not feel afraid again, on the contrary, his heart was very calm. Very powerful. Haha. Of course, I'm just releasing some strength for you, not even a scratch. Who the hell are you? Lin Fan must also figure out something about himself. After all, having a sound in the brain is very abnormal. As for me, you don't have to know. I won't hurt you, that's all. Lin Fan needs strength to find your sister and avenge your parents. So, do you want to have the power of demons? Lin Fan was also aware of these in his heart at this moment. Without strength, one cannot compete with those evil forces. The power of demons is not impossible, as long as they have the strength, everything they do is right. I want to have the power of a demon. Lin Fan shouted loudly. Give it to me. Ha ha ha. Good. The voice burst out laughing. Immediately after, in the darkness, a special red rune appeared in front of Lin Fan. Appearing extremely eerie in the pitch-black darkness. Just looking at it makes people feel extremely scared. Buzz. The red rune trembled for a moment. Directly enter Lin Fan's body. Is this? Lin Fan was surprised. Ah. Then a powerful force surged into various parts of his body, causing him immense pain. After the eerie red rune entered Lin Fan's body, the voice began to become tense. Lin Fan. Time is running out, and I'm also going to disappear. Now listen to what I say. Be sure to go to Wushan and find everything about you inside. You must go. Then the sound disappeared, leaving only Lin Fan's painful cries. The next morning, Lin Fan was covered in sweat, and the sheets were soaked in sweat. He woke up suddenly. Ah! The power of demons. My head hurts so much. Lin Fan covered his head and moaned. The words spoken by that voice from last night came to mind. Wushan. Everything about me. What kind of ghosts are these? Upon hearing these words, Lin Fan's head couldn't help but feel a headache. After calming down for a while, I got up and went to the bathroom to wash off any remaining sweat from my body. Come to the mirror. Lin Fan flicked his hair back in front of him. See at the center of the forehead and eyebrows. Suddenly, a strange red rune appeared. What is this? I saw this red rune in my dream last night. Just as I was about to touch my forehead with my hand, the red rune disappeared. Hey! What's going on? It's gone. Surprise Lin Fan. I wiped my forehead hard with my hand. But I never saw that eerie red rune again. After coming out of the bathroom, I sorted out my clothes. Take out a rubber band from the drawer, wrap your hair around the back of your head, tie it up, and it looks like a warrior's head. Lin Fan went out all the way to Wang Ji's house. Wang Ji's home is not big or small, like a small shop. He is the only one who purchases the daily necessities needed in the small town. Lizhu town, not very large in scale, only has 300 to 400 people living here. Lin Fan stepped into the store, the decorations inside were very vintage. Lin Fan pushed open the door curtain with his hand, and the bell hanging from the top of the door rang crisp. Upon hearing the sound of the bell, a girl with black satin in her eyes and a wooden stick in her hand appeared in front of Lin Fan. May I ask, what do you want to buy? Lin Fan tapped her head with his hand, causing Song Qing'er to feel a bit confused for a moment. Qing'er, I'm here. Upon hearing Lin Fan's voice, Song Qing'er immediately ran to his side. Brother Lin Fan. You're so bad. Even if you can see someone in the store, you insist on playing tricks on me. Song Qing'er puffed her cheeks and angrily reached out her small hand to hit Lin Fan's chest. You're here. Then, Wang Ji's figure appeared from the side room. Lin Fan said. Wang Ji said to Song Qing'er. Qing'er, don't act around. Lin Fan and I have something to talk about. Keep an eye on the store and don't let anyone steal anything from our house. With a pout, he said. Got it, Dad. Song Qing'er looked helpless. After finally being with Lin Fan, I thought I was looking for her. Wang Ji led Lin Fan into another room along the way. During this process, Lin Fan saw that the situation in this store had become significantly different from what he had seen 2 years ago. On the other side of the wall, there are also dried meats such as fish and chicken hanging. In this cruel environment, for people without any law, morality, or order, this is undoubtedly exposing their own property. If someone finds out, it would be killing people and stealing goods. In this era, killing or anything like that is commonplace. But Wang Ji was not worried at all, because these meat goods were supplied to the nobles in the city. And this store is the only one protected by the inner city, so those people dare not act recklessly. Wang Ji sat on a very rudimentary sofa. A few stitches of rags were sewn on one end of the sofa. Lin Fan, do you know what I'm doing when I call you to my place? Faced with Wang Ji's question, Lin Fan didn't even think about it and directly said. That's needless to say, it must be Uncle Wang who has something to say. It's safest to speak in person. Wang Ji laughed heartily. With a smile in his heart, he sighed. This kid is really smart. I won't beat around the bush with you either. I know you want to find your sister and seek revenge for your deceased parents. Since yesterday, I have noticed in the crowd that you are very extraordinary. After suffering such a serious injury, I just lay on the ground for a while and inexplicably recovered. I even punched and flew a stronger person than you. Is there any secret in your body? Wang Ji squinted his eyes and stared at Lin Fan. Lin Fan swallowed saliva. Does he know everything inside my body? Don't be nervous. Wang Ji patted Lin Fan's shoulder and laughed, as if joking with him. Don't be intimidated by what I'm saying next, Lin Fan. Lin Fan responded to Wang Ji's serious gaze. When I was young, I traveled far and wide alone, made some friends, and experienced many strange things. Chapter 8. Superpowers, Awakened 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wang Ji's eyes also glanced around and saw no movement, so he continued speaking. When we reach a specific point, we inexplicably develop a supernatural ability. This ability is also known as a superpower. It is an ability that allows the body to change its own genetic structure and acquire abilities that ordinary people cannot change. As a result, the body undergoes mutations and can acquire incredibly powerful power, and this type of person is also known as an awakener. If you want to use your superpowers, you need to have spiritual power. How long you can persist depends on how much spiritual power you have. After seeing you wake up from a coma, I guessed that you must have awakened some kind of superpower. Upon hearing Wang Ji's words, Lin Fan also realized all of this. I said, Lin Fan, what is your ability to awaken? Wang Ji asked Lin Fan like a curious baby. I don't know. Lin Fan concealed this matter. I only know that my strength has become very strong. Has the strength become great? Wang Ji lowered his head and pondered. What kind of ability is this, powerful? Wang Ji held Lin Fan's shoulder and took a deep breath as he looked at him and said. Each of us has a different ability to awaken, and the timing is also different. Some people have already awakened their superpowers since birth. Some people, on the other hand, have never fully awakened their superpowers for a lifetime. This is also a good thing for people like them. Why is this a good thing? Lin Fan asked in confusion. Because one can live a simple life, it would be great if the people in the city discovered it. They have always liked to capture people with superpowers for human experiments. I want to study what is the reason for obtaining superpowers, and the power of superpowers is enormous. They want to question superpowers through experiments. If you don't want to be caught and sliced for research, just hide your identity honestly. Lin Fan nodded and understood all of this. It turns out that there are still so many people in this world who can use superpowers. Wang took a sip of water and continued. And according to each person's different abilities, they also divide their own abilities into 10 boundaries, also known as the 10 realms. They are Shinshui, Lingguan, Tianke, Yunhai, Ghost, Shinxiao, Shuang, Breaking, Hunyuan, and Klein. Upon hearing everything Wang said, I exclaimed in my heart. I didn't expect there to be such a strict realm. Based on this ranking, it's not that the higher the realm, the stronger the strength. Wang looked at Lin Fan and said with a heartfelt tone. I know you want to find your sister and seek revenge for your family. But the people in the city have immense strength, and if you go, you will die. I know I can't persuade you with anything, but listen to Uncle. It's never too late for a gentleman to seek revenge. Don't ruin yourself in anger. Upon hearing Wang words, Lin Fan's mind sank and he understood what he was saying. I know Uncle Wang, don't worry, I won't mess around. Upon hearing these words, Wang breathed a sigh of relief. But at this moment, Lin Fan remembered what the voice had said last night. What exactly is inside this misty mountain, so eerie? Although I used to go hunting in Wushan, I haven't encountered any original world. Lin Fan unintentionally looked at Wang By the way, Uncle Wang has been traveling south and north for so many years, he must know about things in the misty mountain. Turning to Wang who was about to drink water, he said. Uncle Wang, do you know the mountain behind our village? Upon hearing this, Wang stood still in mid-air holding his cup. My eyebrows furrowed slightly, and my expression was somewhat surprised. How did this kid ask about Wushan? Did he know about the exploration team from the city? I know, what's wrong? Lin Fan continued. That mountain appears in the forest as fog all year round. What exactly is there inside? I'm not sure about that either, Wang replied to Lin Fan with a curious look in his eyes. Oh, Lin Fan lowered his head in disappointment. Wang thought for a moment and seemed to have something on his mind. Lin Fan, I see that you want to know about Wushan so much. I have a way, do you think? Upon hearing this, Lin Fan looked at Wang What kind of route? These days, people from that city come to our town every now and then. They want to enter the foggy mountains and need a guide to guide them. Lin Fan then thought of the incident 2 years ago. The eyebrows slightly furrowed. Are you saying that the members of the exploration team want to enter Misty Mountain again? That's right. Over the years, exploration teams have been heading to Wushan. Even if no one comes out alive, you still have to go in. What exactly is inside this Misty Mountain? Uncle Wang, do you know that the exploration team has been wanting to enter Wushan for years? What exactly are they looking for? Uncle Wang touched his chin. I don't know. Lin Fan began to make small calculations in his heart. Never mind, I'm going to Wushan anyway. Although I've been there, I still don't know the depths inside. It's better to travel together, and in case of danger, let them block it. So how can we reach them? I have a solution. I can go directly to them and they can come over this afternoon. Then please trouble Uncle Wang. Wang looked at Lin Fan and began to mutter again. Lin Fan, I also know that you used to enjoy hunting in the Misty Mountains, but I can tell you that it's very dangerous inside the Misty Mountains. Even those well-equipped exploration teams died in the Misty Mountains. Lin Fan looked at Wang Ji, knowing that one must go to Wushan. Moreover, that mysterious voice was meant to make Lin Fan investigate Wushan. I will pay attention to safety. Okay then. After a brief negotiation, Lin Fan also came out of Wang Ji's room. Arriving at the store entrance, Lin Fan saw Song Qing'er sitting on the counter. Lin Fan tiptoed up and walked towards that direction. Song Qing'er's ears twitched slightly as she exclaimed towards the sound she made. Brother Lin Fan, you have come out. You girl, can you even notice this? Lin Fan was a bit surprised. After all, when he came out of the room, he didn't make too much noise. Although I can't see Brother Lin Fan, my ears are very sensitive. Song Qing'er stuck out her tongue. Although Song Qing'er's eyes were wrapped in a circle of black satin. But it didn't affect her appearance at all, and it just accentuated her cheeks. Lin Fan couldn't help but touch Song Qing'er's head as he watched her with her pink tongue sticking out. You girl, you're really getting more and more refined. I want to scare you off. Hee hee. Song Qing'er's face was beaming with joy, enjoying the touch brought by Lin Fan. In this world, Lin Fan has also become everything for her. He is also the most indispensable person in life, and of course, there is also Lin Yi, but unfortunately he is not there. Lin Fan only had a brief conversation with Song Qing'er, and then he went out and returned to his own wooden house. Inside the house, he began to organize everything he could bring. In this town, the only one who is not afraid of Wushan is probably Lin Fan. Because he has been hunting with his father since he was young. Chapter 9. Joining an exploration team. You are listening at novel-full.audio. Lin Fan's courage gradually increased and he began to hunt in the Misty Mountains. The only thing that puzzled him was that the animals in the mountains were even larger in size than those outside. At that time, Lin Fan didn't care either. As long as he could eat enough and wear warm clothes, everything else didn't matter. At around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Wang Ji came to Lin Fan's house with a man. Behind the man stood several armed personnel with guns. Dong dong. Wang Ji knocked on the door of Lin Fan's house. Lin Fan opened the door and saw several fully armed people standing behind Wang Ji. Lin Fan looked up and down at them. Seeing Lin Fan appear, Wang Ji turned to one of the men and said with a smile. Captain Lai, this is the person I mentioned to you. Is that him? That's right, it's him. In our small town, no one can enter Wushan except for him. This man, who is about to exceed 1.8 meters in height and is about 25 years old, walked up to Lin Fan. My eyes scanned Lin Fan from top to bottom. His expression didn't change much, but his gaze seemed to furrow slightly. Hello, my name is Ryan and I am the captain of this operation. Lin Fan also began to introduce himself. My name is Lin Fan. Tisk. Ryan had some doubts. He looked down on Lin Fan and also doubted whether Wang Ji had found the wrong person. I see that you have a slim physique and no tu liang of flesh all over. Can you still enter such a dangerous place? Isn't that the fact? Lin Fan didn't feel angry because of his words, but spread his hands. The meaning is that I just stand here upright, without any danger. Ryan looked at Lin Fan's eyes and knew from his intuition that Lin Fan was not lying. Ha ha ha. Ryan laughed out loud. But there are still some who don't want to believe someone with such a slim figure. If you can really take us into Wushan, we will give you the corresponding reward for this operation, giving you 100 gold coins. Upon hearing that there were 100 gold coins, Wang Ji's eyes lit up and he looked at Lin Fan. Wang Ji looked at Lin Fan without any reaction, so anxious that he almost agreed for him. His face was covered in fat, and his eyebrows twitched left and right, reminding Lin Fan. Lin Fan looked at Wang Ji's appearance and couldn't help but laugh and cry. Lin Fan's expression revealed a hint of hidden injury. 100 gold coins. Lin Fan thought of that incident again. Lin also sold me out for just 100 gold coins. Lin Fan took a deep breath and looked at Ryan, saying, "Okay." Ryan smiled. "That's settled. Tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock, we will gather at the entrance of the small town on time." Ryan and his team slowly disappeared from their sight. Wang stepped forward and teased Lin Fan's body with his elbow. "Uncle Wang, are you here?" Wang Jiwu's eyebrows and phoenix eyes looked at Lin Fan with a contemptuous expression. "My dear nephew, I've lost everything this time. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have received this good job. After entering Wushan and completing the task, you'll have to." Wang Jimei raised his head, rubbed his palms, and looked at Lin Fan with a smile. "I almost didn't write the money on my face." Looking at Wang Ji's appearance, Lin Fan felt speechless in his heart. The last second he told me to be careful of Wushan and advised me not to go, but now Lin Fan shook his head somewhat helplessly. "I know Uncle Wang, when I come back, I will give you half of the gold coins." Upon hearing these words, Wang Ji clapped his thigh with joy. "It still needs to be my Lin Fan. Doing things is being straightforward." It's late at night. Lin Fan sat in the living room, carrying a backpack for the final inspection. "Ah." Lin Fan sighed deeply. Looking out the window from the side, my eyes filled with helplessness, murmuring to myself as I watched the darkness. "Do you want to go talk to Song Qing'er? Going to Wushan is more ominous than good, otherwise there might not be a chance." Lin Fan moved his steps towards the outside of the house, holding the door handle and hesitating to open it. Ling Qi hesitated for a while before pausing again. "Forget it. Otherwise that girl should be crying again." Click. Push open the door with a fierce force. "Just take a look." Late at night, Lin Fan walked on the street, which made his body feel a bit mysterious. "It's strange how I feel about things around me, why is it so slow?" In Lin Fan's eyes, the birds in the sky have become very slow in their movements. The rustling of leaves in the wind also slows down. Even in the grass more than 10 meters away, Lin Fan could see a few insects clearly. The power of demons. Lin Fan thought of the voice, referring to the power of demons. Is this the devil? In an instant, Lin Fan swung his big arm and ran at a very fast speed. Lin Fan's eyes flashed with surprise, even he himself did not believe that this ability was so incredible. So fast. During the run, Lin Fan's legs gathered together and he made a strong leap. Jump onto someone else's roof and run. I feel like my body is as light as a swallow. This superpower is really amazing. But the people under the house were awakened by the clattering footsteps. Who is it? Who steps on their mother and doesn't sleep for most of the night, trampling on their rooftops and jumping around aimlessly? Are you sick? Lin Fan turned his head and looked behind him, lighting up the lights of more than 10 households. He felt guilty and touched the back of his head, shouting at those people. Sorry, sorry. In less than a moment, she arrived at the place where Song Qing'er lived, which was on the second floor. Arriving outside the window on the second floor, Lin Fan looked at Song Qing'er, who was sleeping soundly. On the bed, Song Qing'er was falling asleep when the black satin in her eyes was placed on the table. The whole face is very cute and obedient. Due to wearing black satin for a long time, the eyes have lost some luster and the corners of the eyes are slightly dull. If she dresses up a little, she can definitely be called a woman with a fairy-like appearance. Song Qing'er's mouth was emitting a hissing sound, still dreaming and laughing. Lin Fan was squatting by the window, his hand touching the window, and the corner of his mouth was slightly raised. Silly girl, still talking in her sleep. Lin Fan stayed in this place for half an hour and also saw Song Qing'er. Then he stood up and leaped over the roof beam, returning to his own home. The rooster crows. And Lin Fan has already prepared his own things. Tie up your shawl hair, put on your backpack, and push the door out. At the entrance of Liju town, 5 modified armed off-road vehicles and some armed personnel armed with nuclear weapons were parked. They were smoking, leaning against the car and chatting. I don't know what to look for when entering Wushan this time. I've heard that there are many evil sects in Wushan. Who said it's not right? Those people in the city sent a few scientists with us, but they didn't tell us what to look for, they just told us to enter the Misty Mountain. It's really itchy not to tell us even if you keep it so confidential. There's no way, who told us to do this? While everyone was chatting, a man with yellow hair got off the off-road vehicle. Standing on the side, Ryan leaned against the tree and was smoking a cigarette. Li Wenxiong walked up to him and shouted with a slightly angry tone. Ryan, aren't we leaving yet? We need to wait a little longer, Ryan said, smoking a cigarette. Wait a moment. Who are you waiting for? Li Wenxiong is a bit funny, he can be said to spend his days like a year in this rundown place. Chapter 10. Hello X, meet again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Waiting for a guide. Wizard. Li Wenxiong was taken aback. Pointing at another off-road vehicle, he said angrily. Don't we have a guide? Why do we still need one? Ryan, I can tell you, we need to hurry into Misty Mountain and don't forget your mission. Ryan pinched the cigarette from his hand and squinted his eyes as he said. I know that if anyone can enter Wushan, we have to recruit everyone in. This way, the chances of finding your things will also be higher. Besides, I am the captain, and I the final say all actions. If you want to enter the Fog Mountain, you must listen to me. Li Wenxiong didn't say anything when he heard this. Give Ryan a cold snort and then return to the car. Li Wenxiong, sitting in the car, looked through the glass and muttered bad words to Ryan, gritting his teeth. The voice of a woman inside the car rang out. What's wrong with Li Wenxiong? Li Wenxiong heard someone calling him. Immediately, he changed his face and looked at the woman in the back row with a mischievous smile. With a big grin on his teeth. Smiling, he said. Hee, Ina, we need to wait for a while. I heard Ryan say there's another person, a local from this small town. Ina crossed her legs and said. Okay, it's okay to wait a little longer. Li Wenxiong looked at his long, green and tender legs. And the crispy chest accompanied by the ups and downs of breathing. He swallowed his saliva and said to her as if pleasing. Ina, would you like to try the chocolate I brought from the city? He reached out and took out a few chocolates from his clothes, handing them to Ina. Ina just glanced at it, as if she wasn't interested in chocolate, and didn't know if she wasn't interested in men like Li Wenxiong. Ina said 2 words to him indifferently. No need. Li Wenxiong closed the door. Ina, I want to. Ina interrupted Li Wenxiong. Li Wenxiong, you don't have to show such kindness to me. I was just sent from within the city to protect you. You find what you need, I do what we should do, and I am also a sinner in the city. Li Wenxiong immediately waved his hand and patted his chest, saying. No, as long as we get that thing this time, I will apply to them to remove the charges you bear. His gaze unconsciously turned towards Ina's captivating body. Or. You can marry me. This not only solves your charges but also allows you to be with me, and most importantly, we can live together in the city. Ina felt a bit hopeful when she heard the previous sentence. But when she heard the words behind Li Wenxiong, she turned a little angry. Looking at him with a cold gaze. This glance made Li Wenxiong shiver. Ina raised her hand and placed her duckbill cap on her eyebrows, closed her eyes, and said to him. That's enough. Let's first find what you need. Li Wenxiong didn't say anything at this and turned around, his eyes slanting towards Ina. Humph, Ina, you will be my person sooner or later. At this moment, Lin Fan also arrived at the entrance of Lizhu town. Ryan saw Lin Fan coming and greeted everyone to get on the bike. Speak to Lin Fan. I'll rely on you all along the way. Lin Fan is a bit confused. Regardless of Lin Fan's doubts, Ryan waved and shouted loudly. Everyone pedaling, ready to depart from Wushan. More than 10 fully armed individuals boarded the armed off-road vehicle one after another. Ryan also got in the front car. Lin Fan also randomly selected a car to sit in. But as soon as he opened the car door, someone pushed him out. With a disdainful expression, he shouted at Lin Fan. I don't want to see what level you're in, but you're in the same car as us. Go. Take the back one. Waved his hand and asked Lin Fan to take the back one. Lin Fan had no choice but to walk towards the car behind him. But there are no seats left in this car. There is only one driver and one co-pilot in front, and there is still someone in the co-pilot alone. At this moment, a co-pilot rolled down the window and impatiently called out to Lin Fan. Kid, are you still sitting or not? The car will leave soon. Lin Fan had no choice but to settle down and sit in the bucket filled with daily necessities. Lin Fan flipped over and entered the car body. His eyes suddenly widened, seeing something unbelievable. Buzzing. All the cars slowly started driving towards Wushan. The person across from each other also saw something incredible and both looked at each other. Lin Fan. Lei Batian. The two of them stared blankly for a full minute. Lin Fan also remembered what Ryan had said at this moment. It turned out to be his Lei Batian. Lin Fan looked at Lei Batian with hostility in his eyes, and his body immediately became nervous. Before I first met him, I had suffered a lot. Why did this guy come to the exploration team? Lei Batian, why are you on the exploration team? Lei Batian was also nervously watching Lin Fan at this moment. He recalled Lin Fan, who was able to stand up all at once even after being severely injured, and even beat them to the ground. Lei Batian couldn't understand why Lin Fan was also here. Why are you here too? Lin Fan said. Of course it's for those 100 gold coins. Lin Fan only used a cover-up for the gold coins. His true purpose is to enter Wushan to investigate the truth. And I also took the opportunity to join them and understand what this exploration team is looking for. What about you? Is it also for those 100 gold coins? Lei Batian said. That's it. Lei Batian had also heard about an exploration team coming before, and he needed a guide to enter Wushan. Upon hearing that he could obtain 100 gold coins, Lei Batian took on this business without even thinking about it. This is all for the cost of living with Song Qinger in the future, so that we can wander the world together and be a happy couple. Watching Lei Batian giggle foolishly, he was also blinded by the money. Lin Fan was very speechless and laughed at him. Do you know how dangerous it is inside Wushan? Are you still going in? Upon hearing this, Lei Batian felt somewhat disdainful. Cut, how dangerous can it be? It's just a mountain shrouded in fog all year round, what's the danger? Upon hearing these words, Lin Fan almost didn't get angry and laugh on the spot. During the 2 years since Lin Fan left, he didn't know if any exploration teams had come. In just over a decade, he has seen 3 exploration teams in the small town of Lizhu. They never came out again after entering Wushan. It can be imagined that Wushan is not something that can be easily entered, even Lin Fan did not go deep into it directly. Lei Batian looked at Lin Fan's expression and felt that Lin Fan was somewhat mocking him. I was also suddenly unhappy in my heart, and the thought of Song Qinger liking him made me even angrier. In retaliation for that punch, Lei Batian immediately fought against Lin Fan in the fighting car. Lin Fan never expected Lei Batian to take action against him. Lei Batian, what are you doing? What are you doing? Of course I'll beat you up. The two of them twisted together, but due to the narrow space, there was no room for them to exert themselves. Both of them were lying in the car body, pinching each other's arms and hair. Still holding the other person's neck with one hand.